All right, Shalom family. How's everybody doing? Come on in, come on, come on. Gonna do a quick live. I won't be on too long this evening. In other words, my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in Yahweh's sight. He is our strength and our redeemer, and it is in his name, which is we're grateful for everybody who's coming on. Grateful to everybody who's watching this later on YouTube. Thankful to everybody. Probably won't have the podcast up for tonight. So if you're coming on from other places, or if you're watching this later on, we didn't have the podcast on tonight. What's tonight? The 27th of December.
Let's go. I sing let's go.
Okay. I apologize for being off and on for a second. I'm gonna try and see if I can go. I'm gonna be in the dark, but hopefully you'll be able to see me lit up a little bit. I'm trying to see if I can get a signal. We'll have the signal back in order probably tomorrow. I'm on live with I don't have any connection or anything to it right now. I don't know the stuff I'm on now. So, but I guess I can connect to it later. It's a new one, right?
Yeah.
So I have to, yeah. So, but basically, we are talking about that your education is basically a threat to educate yourself, to be about the will of the Most High, to educate yourself of your time, your information. These are things that are valuable. And when you start putting your time and investing your time towards your education, you're being lifted up and growing in something, you will find out very quickly that it becomes very difficult, to be in certain circles or whatever. So, and I apologize once again. I'm outside, setting up a new Wi-Fi and stuff. So we'll have to do this out here until tomorrow on the rise, and we'll be set up again and ready to go. But a long story short, people don't really comprehend and recognize and realize that your education is something that is detrimental to the society that you are in. Your education is detrimental. Your education, once educated, you went to school to be indoctrinated, right? And I'm not mad at doctrine as long as doctrine is not setting my people back, right? We should all have a doctrine that we go by. Matter of fact, you do, whether you want to call it doctrine or not. When you raise your children, you're being taught not to indoctrinate your children. But the reality is, they say don't indoctrinate your children with anything. Then they send them to school to be indoctrinated. They know that whether you have a vision for your life and a vision plan for your life or not, somebody has one, and you will follow one. You're designed to, right? What you see is education. What you hear is education. What you feel is education. What you touch is education. What you taste is education. All five senses, those that believe in six or even more senses than that, everything that you sense is education. It educates you. It puts you in a position that you're in. And your education is the key to your freedom, or it's the education to your demise. And once again, your education is part of the problem. And all the stuff that's going on, their education is part of the problem. That's why some of the greatest educators out there can get 1 million plus followers on multiple platforms and still not get that blue check mark, right? But somebody who's twerking, somebody who's saying that there's no racism, somebody that's saying that you should learn of everything and be proud of everything that anybody of Eurocentric value has taught you, they can make sure that they can have no followers and yet make sure that they get blue check marks and advertising and all of that. I'm not speaking for myself for advertising. I'm not even on a level where I'm concerned about that yet. We got to work our way back up to that. We were there. We got to work our way back up to there. My main point and my main concern, my main focus is trying to get you to comprehend that the reality of this situation is that the world is against your education. And shalom to everybody. I'm sorry. Shalom to you, Sister Beverly. Shalom to everybody who came on. But your education is a problem. Thank you. Thank you. if your education was a problem, right? I'm sorry. So if your education wasn't a problem, then your education wouldn't be, or every time you show that you've been educated, it wouldn't be something that has to be fought against. Think about that. Whenever we educate on something, we have to go through this fight. Oh, never mind. I'm trying to find a place I can get some light. But whenever you talk about something, whenever you bring something to somebody's attention, whenever you're dealing with something, you have to deal with all these people trying to tell you why you're wrong, and it's because you're simply showing that you're educated, right? I put on one of the videos, there was a sister who put out talking about how created situations, did the best they could, and hoped and prayed. And a lot of us come from generations where you might have been the first, or somebody in your family that was the first person to go to college, the first person to get a degree, the first person that was supposed to change everything because they got a degree. As soon as we started doing that, what did they do? They took it away. They took the ability away to do that, right? And why was it important that they took that ability away? Why was it necessary to take that ability away? Because if you ever became educated, right, or they ever showed you that education was something that's valuable to them, and you started making sure that you got as much of it as possible, they're going to be in trouble, right? And that's really what you're dealing with nowadays, is you're dealing with the more education that you receive, the more power you have. So we're at a place where we talk about the last days, and I don't really focus in on last days outside of scripture too much. However, when I do, it's with purpose, right? I'm not saying nobody else does. I'm just telling you, with me, I'm one to deal. Sorry. It's a signal thing. If I'm not out in the complete dark, you guys can't, it won't give me a signal. It's all right. It's education. This is how important education is. We're not going to let somebody ruin what we're talking about. I'm not even going to grant the spirit that's trying to stop this, any authority or any thought process. Not even going to mention who that person might be, right? But you got to understand, it's about education, and the more educated you become, the more of a threat you become, right? The more education you ascertain, rather, the more dangerous you become. The more certain of things you become, the more dangerous you become. The better you are at being a husband or a wife, the more dangerous you become. This is all Willie Lynch syndrome stuff, right? The more you can speak multiple languages and speak code that somebody else is speaking over you all the time, the more dangerous you become. The more educated you become, the more problematic you are, right? And what's happening, people don't want to talk about this, but the real issue is what's going on is that more of us are recognizing or are educated enough in certain things, and our value system has changed enough to where now we're not concerned with things we used to be concerned about, and we're more concerned about things we didn't used to be concerned about. So we're trying to learn about things that we never learned about, and we're trying to unlearn things that we should have never learned in the first place. And we're doing a generational cleanse. People talk about cleansing all the time. We're having a generational cleanse, right? I'm proud when I see 17, 18-year-olds. Even the brother that was very problematic, and I had to respond to him and tried to be problematic, thinking I was going to go back and forth, and I just had to leave him alone, But even brothers like that, I'm at least proud of the fact that somebody's stepping up and being a challenge, right? There's a lot of people I see on the first thing that they do is they come on here. All you guys do is talk. All you guys do is talk. And I'm glad that at least somebody's challenging it, because at least you're challenging the talk. I wish you would listen to what's being spoken and actually see what we're doing and educate yourself on us so that we can educate each other and grow together. Nevertheless, though, at least people are challenging the educational system that has caused people to be in this situation. It's always interesting to me that people will say, how dare you talk about this? Or people say education is the key. Whose education? Right? Salah. Whose education? Education is the key. Whose education? The education that told my people that they were nothing but a Negro, and that was a bad thing, and didn't tell them that the word Negro came from the people who actually taught them how to be able to even use phonetics to be able to come up with a term called Negro and learn how to write it out. right? Whose education is key? When I see our brothers and sisters, seeing it all throughout my comment section, or well, the comment sections on the pages that I have access to, and I've seen them all throughout there, and people talking about, man, you guys need to stop telling half stories and just go out and vote. If we just voted, that would be the thing that solves it. But people have been voting for how many years now? How long has democracy been a supposed hallmark of American society, and how much change has there been for us? Are people still talking about the same thing? Are people still asking for the same humanity? Are people still asking for the same respect? Are our women still saying that they don't feel supported and loved and protected? Whose education? He said, whose education is greatest? Amen. And really, the kingdom education, kingdom law, marital law, natural law, universal law, that's the most important. That's the greatest. Education is powerful. Our working definition of education is always what we say is this, is that you reach inside someone and pull out what's inside of them and show it to them. Show them the potential of everything. Put it back inside of them and say, okay, now let's walk together to get to where we just saw the vision that needs to be established. Educational vision, visional education. I don't know which one you would say, right? Either way, though, right? Where is your education coming from? Where has it come from the entirety of your life? And is it time for you now to start leaving some things alone? This is why Romans chapter 12, verse 2 speaks on things like this. It starts with a renewal, a daily renewal of your mind, being not conformed, becoming one and forming into this system, this world, but being ye transformed, going from what you are in now to coming out of it by the renewal of your mind, your pneuma, your spirit. Are you getting transformational education? Are you just getting conformative education? Conformative education just says that the world tells me to do this, so I do it, and I learn how to do it real well, and hopefully I make enough money to where, I take care of some bills and I'll be all right. Right? Transformational education says that I know how to exist dealing with the system. However, I'm far from being of it. Hey, professional, how you doing? Praise Yahweh, praise Yahweh. Nuwak. Once again, where did your education come from? It's like Minister Malcolm X talked about. Who taught you to hate yourself? Right? He was talking about how they came against the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Right? As far as his teacher at the time, or I guess always his teacher, but the person that he was professing, was without mistake and stuff at the time, and how everybody was saying Elijah Muhammad was racist. And he said, well, who taught you to hate yourself? He was basically saying the educator is coming and telling you that you need to love yourself, and the people who hate you educating yourself through your own lens and your own prism tell you that the person who says love yourself is actually the one who's racist, is actually the one who hates you. And we usually go off of the educator of our oppressor. Stockholm syndrome. Still dealing with loving the kidnapper. And we find more stock, if for lack of a better term. We find more value in being underneath the reign of the oppressor, being underneath the reign of the kidnapper, being underneath the reign of the person that took your identity, than we do being ourselves. Hey, shalom, babe. My wife, the Honorable Bloom and Flourish, is on. You can follow her on TikTok, YouTube, and her website. Not Bloom and A-N-D Flourish, but Bloom, the letter N, Flourish. Bloom and Flourish. Thanks for being on, babe. Love you. Who taught you these things? Right? That's what he was asking. He was asking the question, where's your education? People forget Malcolm X's education had to be renewed. He had to go to prison. Had to basically relearn reading and writing and all that stuff, and learn terms and read the dictionary. I actually followed his example. When I was younger, I started reading the dictionary because he said that he had to read the dictionary in order to learn words. So, and to be better and to be greater, to be able to speak. And if you can speak somebody else's language, as Willie Lynch himself said, when you can speak somebody else's language, then you actually get to a place where you can get through their culture, right? You don't have to be of it, but you can, maneuver your way through it when necessary. Who taught you what you learned? Whose prism are you coming through? Your education is necessary. That's why we get on here twice a day, right? At least once a time every day, but usually going to be at least twice a day. We have the classes that we have. We do a lot of stuff in person. We do a lot of stuff that's community oriented. We do a lot of stuff as far as, fundraising, taking care of people, all that. Yes, but education is important because whoever you are educated by is who you're going to become. I don't know if you ever heard it said like that. I don't think I've ever heard it said like that. We praise Ruach HaKodesh for that, right? But whoever you're educated by, that's who you shall become. Real talk, right? Whoever you're educated by is who you shall become. You said Dr. Clark? Did John Henry Clark say that? He might have said that. I don't know. Never heard him say it, but if he said it, hey, we'll credit him for it. That's the OG, right? But whoever you're educated by is who you shall become. Yep, your mind will become what it consumes, and whatever's in you through somebody else, once it sits in your heart and your passion long enough, out of the abundance of the heart, doth the mouth speak. Forgive me, I'm gonna lose the light for a little bit, right? But out of the abundance of the heart, doth the mouth speak. So, we're sitting here speaking out of the abundance of a passion that's not ours. There's a teacher of ours, Dr. Leia Africa, who makes it a point to say that, or reminds us, when you were growing up and your parents would say, boy, you ain't in your right mind, right? You ain't in your right mind. They were saying that you got somebody else's mind. That ain't yours. Somebody educated you and you're carrying somebody else's culture on your back and perceiving it to be yours and living through the prism of somebody else's. You got somebody else's eyes surgically put inside of your head and you're seeing things through their prism. Right? Whoever's educating you is who you shall become. You want to become great spiritually? Who are the people spiritually you're looking up to? You want to become more Afrocentric? Who are the Afrocentric people you're looking to? And by the way, you got to be careful even with that. I'm not trying to say anything about my Afrocentric brothers and sisters. In all honesty, I'm an Afrocentric brother, right? So I'm not saying that they're bad in any way, but what I'm saying is you'd be surprised how many of our Afrocentric brothers and sisters go to Eurocentric points of views to be able to try and prove what they're saying as far as Afrocentric, not realizing that they could just read what their own people said, right? We don't have to go through somebody else for everything. But our education, at least what we believe, is that everything has to come through somebody else's lens. Everything has to come through somebody else's prism, right? And whoever you're learning from, that's who you're becoming. I'm going to be honest. I've met older black women who have told me that they basically know that they act like old white men. And they've told me this because they said, hey, had to be independent. Had to get a job, had to fight against white men to be able to get a seat at the table, had to be proud of my doctorate or whatever it was that I got through them while not being able to afford to pay off my student loan, things like that. Had to work hard to be able to be accepted by other white men. So I became like a white man, which you could probably see causes an issue when you have a relationship and you have a black woman who's trying to fight like a white man so much that she begins to act like a white man. I didn't say all black women. I'm talking about ones I've talked to. Not all of them I've talked to, but certain ones I've talked to who've told me this, right? If you're acting like a white man, then how you going to have a relationship with a black man? And most of them single black women. Strong black women, but single. Women that make money don't make the money they deserve, though. Right? Because of our prism. Black men learning from white men, saying that, hey, our white women are more submissive than these black women, having us go chasing white women who put us in jail and stuff anyways and take your children away anyways. And then while you're sitting there in prison in jail, your black women are going to the white men who told you that they weren't going to mess with your women because they were only going to mess with their white women. Right? Who educated you? What was the purpose of the education? Watch this. This one's going to hurt if you get what I'm saying correctly. I don't even know if I can explain this correctly, so I'm going to just be honest. This might not be for everybody. This might be just for 1 or 2 people. This might be kind of something somebody needs to hear, and they're going to catch it right away, because I'm not even sure how to explain this. I'm going to try. I'm not even sure if I'll explain it well. But when they educated you, what was your grade? Right? When you got educated through somebody else's system, what was the grade they gave you? Did you get an A? Did you work your behind off to make sure that you thought like them, and so much that they said, we'll give you an A, we'll give you an A+. We'll make you a valedictorian. We'll let you speak to white people about how they are the best and encourage them to be greater. And tell anybody that's not in their system, that failed their system because they don't see things through that lens properly, they don't have the right IQ. You know, that's what an IQ test is, right? Hey, Shalom, Minister Tamer. You know, that's what an IQ test is, right? An IQ test is basically, the IQ tests that are used today are nothing more than eugenics. Somebody who loved eugenics saw what they were doing in France. In France, they had they basically came up with an IQ test to where they wanted only high class people to be able to do things. So they took a test for everything, and they said, see, all the low class people who don't know what the high class people know, they're not great enough. Somebody in the eugenics said, yes, we need to take that. They went and studied it. They took it back to America. They fixed it a little bit so it could be white versus black. They had it spread around the country, and they had people start taking the IQ test, and then started telling everybody this fib to say that black people don't have the same IQ. Or actually, excuse me, not even a fib. They told everybody the truth, which is black people don't have the same IQ as white people. Problem with that is that we don't lead their intelligence. We don't use their intelligence. Our melanin and our melanin sits different and even has different things at the center of it. We don't think the same. Our boys don't sit still in class because our boys are very active. Even when they become grown men, they are active. They like to move. They like to be challenged. So they don't learn the same way. They don't hold the same information. If you're somebody who has to walk around America as the prey, what you consider to be intelligence you need to hold is something completely different than the person who walks around as the hunter. You said that was an episode of Good Times? You probably, what you talking about with, I forget what the little boy's name was. Was his name Michael? The little light-skinned cat? Hey, who was talking to, you talking about the episode when I guess his mom was trying to tell him about George Washington or something like that? Not sure. Hey, anyways, though, right? Have you ever got COVID tested? I have been COVID tested before, actually. Never had COVID, as far as I know. Never had a vaccine either. So yeah, right. Our melanin has selenium in the nucleus. Others have sulfur, right? They won't tell you that. Education. So if you're melanin, which people only want to act like it's something that has to do with color, but no, like your melanin is different than somebody else's melanin. That means your blood is different than somebody else's blood. That means your eating habits are different than other people's eating habits. Who were you educated by? 2 women should not be on the same medicinal plan because they have 2 different bodies. They can vary. They should vary some. Okay, glad that you're negative, right? But once again, we're talking about education. Yeah, you got neuromelanin, right? So you got different stuff that we're dealing with, but people don't want to have that conversation. Who educated you? Whoever educated you is who you're going to become. Somebody educated you to say that you shouldn't take herbs, but you should take pills. Nobody told you that pills are nothing more than herbs, but the pills have side effects because when they do the pills, they don't use the whole herb. They only focus on one little piece of the herb. So when they focus on one little piece of the herb, it means that you're not going to get the holistic effect. That's why you have side effects, which is why you might as well just eat the herb. That's why you might as well just have the tincture, right? Who educated you? And at what point do you say if they educated you and you're not aware of some of the basics, then why would you continue to go by their education? Why would you allow your children to go by that education? I'm sorry. Joy, what did you say? I missed what you said. I don't even see your original thing. You said you were... Oh, what is? Oh, okay, okay. Biologically. Oh, you're talking about. Oh, you're talking to my wife. Okay, sorry about that. Right. So, you're going through education of somebody else, right? People who make money off of your death, or make money off of your being in a place to where you struggle physically. The same people that would tell you to spray your yard to get rid of weeds would not tell you that when you spray your yard to get rid of weeds, it's going to cause you the sickness. It's going to cause you to have to go and get treatment for cancer. And then you could use the dandelion, but they use the spray, right? And then here's the kicker: to help you to heal, they're going to give you a pill that's basically just a piece of dandelion that's going to cause you side effects. It's going to cause you to keep having to come back to them and take other pills on down the road, to where now you're taking pill cocktails. And the reality is, all you had to do was keep the dandelion, eat the dandelion, take the root out, use it as a tea, and you'd be fine. You would have never had to worry about the spray, which is what gave you the cancer in the first place. But the same people who own the spray stuff, right? The same people who own the spray, the same people who are telling you to use the spray to make your yard look better, not to make you healthy, but to make your yard look better. The same people that are telling you to use the spray to make your yard look better are the same people who own the pill that gives you the side effects and won't let you just take the dandelion, which is an officinalis, or officinalis. I keep saying officinalis, right? And officinalis, basically in Latin, just simply means it heals everything. Who's the educator, right? Your education is vital for generations to come. For generations to come, right? It's vital for what? For generations to come. We keep talking about generational wealth. Information is going to be one of the things that you need more than anything else. That's why they're coming out with Meta. That's why I forget, my wife just introduced a new term. I never heard it say that. But what is it? The internet body, or something like that. But basically, all the stuff they're talking about is when they're gonna hook you up into VR all the way, and people are gonna start not just getting injections. Some of that's already started in the world, but you're going to have some people who, now you're going to put on the glasses. People have been talking about that for a while. If you remember talking about the Google glasses, and they didn't really take off yet because they're too expensive, but you're going to have glasses on, you're going to have gloves on, you're going to have bodysuits on. People aren't going to leave the house for a while. Now they'll say, well, COVID's out there, I might as well do everything through virtual reality. Even though I'm not going to participate in some of the virtual stuff with Meta, I am going to invest in some of it because, NFTs, crypto, things like that, you better be on point with that stuff, right? Make sure that your family's ready to make some money off of it, because people don't understand that money is, that fiat cash is not of any value, really. And people are starting to realize it. That's why people are using basically anything as cash, because you shouldn't think cash, you should think resources. And the same people that have all the resources tell you to think about cash while they gather all the resources, and they try to make sure that they liquidate the cash as much as possible. Who educated you? Is it the person who's telling you to have the fiat cash that doesn't really hold the value? And they themselves have all the resources? They asked, gosh, I'm forgetting his name. Warren Buffett. They asked Warren Buffett a while ago, I don't know how many years ago, but they asked him a question. They basically said, Mr. Buffett, if you had the choice of starting off with a bunch of cash or starting off with land and businesses, which one would you use? Which one would you go for? He said, give me land and business every time, because land and business gets me the cash. He said, cash may or may not give me the land and business, but the whole goal of having the cash is to get the land and business. They're telling you, though, to try and live paycheck to paycheck and try to get as much cash so that you can get land and resources. Reality is, though, is that you should get whatever land and resource you can get. I don't care how cheap it is. There are people out there talking about, don't get that. That's too cheap. Who knows what that's going to be? Walmart has bought swampland off people and turned it into whole cities and stuff like that. Costco has turned it into whole cities. What's happening with, you don't have to look too hard to find out what's happening with, not Walmart, but what is it? Not Costco, Amazon, right? The stuff that's going on with Amazon. You don't have to work that hard to see what's going on with Amazon. Amazon's telling you they're building whole cities, right? Amazon is straight up building cities for people to be able to be enslaved and go to work and be in a warehouse and barely make it. And they'll have it set up to where, you can kind of sort of afford an apartment. Maybe they'll make it look like townhomes or something like that. right? And then telling you and I we're crazy when we tell you, hey man, don't be in debt, don't be a slave. Get resources. They're trying to make it as hard as they can for you to get resources. Their goal is not for you, but people have to comprehend the goal is resources, the goal is information, right? Educate yourself out of fiat. Educate yourself out of, man, I got a couple dollars in my pocket. Educate yourself out of how many digits do I have digitally on a debit card. You want resources. That's what you want. That's what you're looking for. You're looking for resources. Okay? You're not looking for money. You are an ATM. You're looking for information. The information is what gets you paid. Right? Resources. People like to eat food. If you can cook food, people are looking for food. That's what gets you. That's what's going to get you where you're going. Right? But who educated you? The same people who educated you, who are telling you to work for them so that you can make money, are the people that used ideas to start companies. You said some people know more about football than they do their own bodies. That's true. Because some people, if I showed them something, they'd say, clearly, that's pass interference. Because the person came around and they did a typical move in which they went for the ball with the left hand, but they touched the shoulder while coming around and wrapping around to get the ball. And so referees have been trained by that. And we're so glad that we have, instant replay to be able to make sure that we can see if the referees made the right call or not, right? They'll tell you all that. But somebody says, hey, how many resources do you have versus how much cash do you have? Because cash is not really a resource. It kind of sort of is, but it's not really one. Right? You see what I'm saying? You need to figure out resources. That's why we say all the time, try to make sure that you're going out and that even in your own apartment, wherever you live, you can grow food. Right? Even in your own apartment and stuff like that, you can grow food in your apartment. And if you don't know how, ask people. Ask us. We can help you out with some of those things. Right? Get resources. The second that you can feed yourself is the second you don't have to worry about is it organic or not. Because you know what it is. You grew it. You're not worried about the USDA. That's the problem. You're too worried about the USDA. You need your stamp of approval on it. Can you put your stamp? Do you have a stamp in your house that says if you grew it, you can put a stamp on it yourself? And you can sell it to somebody and somebody says, what? That's approved by someone. Who's so-and-so? You said, that's me. I grew it. That's why I'm charging you the same thing as it would be as an organic thing from the store, because this is better than what you would get at the store, because you buy an organic seedless grapes, and grapes are supposed to have seeds because of who you got educated by. Amen, Minister Nines. You have multiple streams of income. Yep, we need to get back to growing our own food. And it's not that difficult, right? You have to, but you have to start. You have to start somewhere, and you got to be diligent. You got to be faithful. Right? When nobody else, when everybody else is still out there going to get money, it's easy to try and go out get like watch this. Here, can I say something? And I didn't mean to go this long. We're longer than what I planned on going, and I am outside, as you guys can tell. So I'm not going to be on too much longer before I take my leave. However, I want you to think about this. Getting money is easy, y'all. That's going to mess with somebody's mind, because somebody's going to say, I don't have money and this and that. Do you pay bills? Do you pay bills? Because if you pay bills, then getting money is easy. Getting money is easy. Sovereignty, resources. Now that's hard. Did you catch that? Getting money is easy. Getting resources, that's difficult. You can go get a job if you want money. You can go get a job. I could go get a job right now. I can go to a warehouse. I could go be a cashier. Maybe somebody, I don't look the part, but maybe somebody let me work in a corporate place, or if I shaved everything off, they probably let me work in certain corporate places or whatever. I've got connections where somebody probably hooked me up with something. If I begged hard enough or whatever, getting a job and it's really not that difficult in getting money. I mean, shoot, there's people out there who are homeless, who are on drugs, whatever the case might be, who will go out and they'll shake a cup at you and you'll put money in it. Getting money is not the hard part. Having the information to be able to start an empire, that's difficult. right? But watch this, when you get the resources, money follows. That's how easy it is. It's even in your word. It's in your Bible. People say that they love so much. Psalm 23, verse 6. Surely greatness and mercy, or being like Elohim in mercy. Some people, if you even know, we talked about this before, really you could even say surely grace and mercy, right? Because it's talking about the same concept. But surely being like Elohim in his mercy, or goodness and mercy, some people know it as, shall follow me all the days of my life. And I will dwell in the family or the house of the Lord forever. Now, when it says, here's the issue, you've changed it into thinking you got to follow and chase after the goodness and mercy. You got to follow after the money. So you working for money. You're not trying to be in goodness and mercy, in greatness and mercy, trying to be what you're supposed to be. Because when you're in goodness and mercy, not goodness and mercy, not being, excuse me, you need to be yourself. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. Let me backtrack. Let me rewind. All right. I want to make sure that we end this correctly. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. That means that you are what goodness and mercy follows. Why are you chasing goodness and mercy when goodness and mercy follow you when you're in position? All right. You catch that? You catch that? Right? Yeah, seek ye first the kingdom. These are things that are talking about equity. Proverbs chapter 1, verse 3 talks about equity. Proverbs chapter 22, verse 5 and 6. Read both of them together. Most of you only know verse 5. Read Proverbs 22, homework assignment, if you haven't heard us go over this already. But even if you have, homework assignment, Proverbs 22, 5 and 6. You've only heard verse 5. You've never heard anybody tell you verse 6 goes with it. Right? Proverbs chapter 13. Proverbs chapter 13, verse 22. Stop reading just the first or the last half of the verse and make sure that you have generational wealth mindset. That's the first half of the verse. And just in case, because some of us probably won't open or, may not have time or might not go do this later. So let me just say this real quick. Proverbs chapter 1, verse 3 talks about equity. Proverbs chapter 22, verse 5 is where it says, train up a child in the way they should go. So when they grow old, they won't depart from it. But verse 6 right behind it is saying, train them up to make sure that they are the people, that they are great financially and that they're the lender and never the borrower, because the borrower will always be a servant to the lender. So train them in that way so when they get old, they won't depart from it. Right? Proverbs chapter 13, verse 22. Right, these are verses we talk about all the time because people don't think about this stuff in your Bible because we're taught that this stuff's supposed to be mystical and not practical. But Proverbs chapter supposed to be mystical and not practical. But Proverbs chapter, sorry about that. Proverbs chapter 13, verse 22, the last half is what everybody's going to quote. That the wealth of the sinner or the wealth of the wicked is laid up for the just. Right, but the just means to be justified. What justifies it for you? The first half of the verse. The first half of the verse says that you got to be ready to take care of your children's children. If you're not ready to take care of your children's children, then stop talking about how justified you are for the wealth of the wicked, because the wealth of the wicked have enough sense to take care of their children's children. They're justified. I know you don't want to hear that, but the wicked are more justified sometimes than we are, because at least they'll take care of their children. You won't even take care of your children. You'll get money and then tell your child, hey, all right, you graduated high school, you graduated college, you need to go somewhere. You ain't even got no inheritance. We're not supposed to give inheritances when people die. That's somebody else's culture. We give inheritances while people live. And by the way, other people who tell you that it's their culture to give their children inheritances, their children get to live with them through college and after college. Their children get to start businesses. Their children have investments and things in their name already. They have trust and all types of things. So when they get to be 25, 30 years old, they don't have to worry about going and getting a job. You're trying to figure out how is this person showing up to the same job you are and is driving, a Lex. Because mom and dad made sure they invested in them. They were thinking about generational wealth. The same people that you would call evil have enough sense to think about generational wealth. We weren't taught this stuff, man. And I love our people too much to keep acting like we're not supposed to talk about it. I'm going to be careful. I know some of you have been telling me be careful, and I know I'm walking a fine line and we don't want to keep on having to get kicked off of platforms, right? So I'm going to be careful as I give you but we got to give you game. At this point, that we're running out of time. This is not a thing of you got, all this time left and this and that or whatever. Dr. Cloud Anderson basically told us that, look, if we didn't get ourselves together financially, pretty much, I think it was 2020. I think we already passed whatever his date was that he said we need to get ourselves together. But basically, if we didn't get ourselves together pretty much soon, we're done. If you don't start thinking financially right now, it's gonna be guaranteed you're gonna have generations to come. Malcolm X said it like this. He said, "Hey, if you grew up in a poor house, it's probably because you have poor parents. If you grew up in poor parents, it's probably because they had poor schooling. If they had poor schooling, it's probably because they were poor children. If they were poor children, it's probably because they ate poorly. If they ate poorly, it's probably because they had parents that were poor. If they had parents that were poor, it's probably because they had poor parents. And all they did was just keep the cycle going back over and over and over again." Right? At a certain point, it starts somewhere. Why not be the people that break the chain? The chain of ignorance, the chain of servitude to the wrong thing, right? The chain of slavery, of debt, of anger, of frustration, the chain of blaming our own people within our own race to try and say that it's the husband's fault, it's the wife's fault, it's the man's fault, it's the woman's fault. At some point, we got to stop being educated by people who do nothing but take small differences and make them bigger. At some point, we got to take our big differences and say they don't matter. That's why there's a saying that I say, and I'll get ready to take my leave on this. Make the main thing the main thing. Make the main thing the main thing. There's sometimes on here where everybody's going this and that or whatever, and you guys know sometimes when people are talking about things, how I feel about it, and I might disagree with it and this and that, but guess what? Sometimes you guys hear me just go, okay, I'm not here to argue about that. Why? Because at the end of the day, I want my people to be better. Right? At the end of the day, at some point, I just want to look out. I want to know that my brothers on here are all right. I want to know that my sisters on here are secure. I want to make sure that our children that are listening, because they're children that listen on here. That's why I'm careful, ever so careful, to even when sometimes I'm going to quote somebody who curses, I'm very careful not to do so, except for certain, like really, really small times. I can't even remember. I don't even know how many times I've actually said curse words on here, but if I'm quoting somebody sometimes, or even if I'm going to say something that sounds like a curse word, I'm very careful, right? Because our children, we're trying to make sure that we're doing this for generations. The main thing is the main thing. And it's not even about you, right? Like I plan on being around for another 100 years because I'm going to be healthy. I'm going to eat healthy. I'm going to live righteous. I'm going to honor my parents. I'm going to honor our people. I'm going to honor the Most High. I plan on being around for a long, long time. I plan on my wife being around for a long, long time. I plan on each and every one of you who want to do the work of us being around for a long, long time. However, I comprehend that really this ain't for me. Not just even because it's for the generations coming behind me, but it's for all of us. So at some point, the main thing has to be the main thing. At some point, we have to get to a place where, look, all the stuff that you're trying to do to say, those who are our fellow Israelite brethren, there comes a point where we got to stop doing this weird game, who's more Israel than the other person, right? At some point, it doesn't matter, right? At some point, look, if somebody else has something that's greater, now I got to be faithful to the vision, but if somebody had something that was greater and they were closer to it, I'm willing to support you and put whatever it is that I got to put behind it to help you to reach what it is. I want your business to do well. I want your children to do well. I want your thoughts to do well. I want you to sleep well. I want you to eat well. I want your health to be well. I want you to be valuable in your own mind before you have to worry about the value coming from somebody else. I want all that for you, right? At some point, the main thing has to be the main thing. What is the main thing we're trying to accomplish? That we are kings and queens, that we're able to do what the Most High says, that we're able to make sure that we help the diaspora, and that we can be the example. We can be the sons, the manifestations of the sons of Elohim, that the creation is trying to see. Romans chapter 8, verse 19. All right. So thank you all for being on. I appreciate you all. We will we should have the signal issues and everything taken care of. Setting up some new stuff to try and make sure that we stop having some of the signal issues we've been having. So hopefully we'll have that set up for you guys. Tomorrow we'll be back on at 8 a.m. Eastern New York time. And thank you so much, everybody who's on. Don't forget, classes are coming up January 31st. Hebrew characters, basic Hebrew, Sovereignty 1, Sovereignty 2, Natural Medicine 2, basic French, cryptocurrency. Starting the week of January 31st. If you want more information on that, let us know. Brothers, we're going to be meeting together Wednesday evening. Oh, thank you very much. Is that Shiraz? More than likely. Lucky. Thank you. And make sure to check out my wife, the Honorable Bloom and Flourish, not A-N-D, but the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. You can follow her on TikTok, YouTube, and her website. We're thankful and grateful to you all. We appreciate you. Even though Christmas is past, feel free to go on YouTube. Check out the 12 Myths of Christmas series. We got that up for you. Feel free to check out the other stuff. That's hashtag FindKofi, hashtag FindKofi. Feel free to go and have your children, grandchildren, etc. If you want to, check out our son's YouTube page where he's trying to be a great example. You have all these people out here cursing and doing things. Well, our son is out there doing a lot of things that children do. And if your children want somebody to follow and watch and laugh with and, see him do cool things and stuff like that, you can go check him out on YouTube as well. On YouTube, TikTok, and Roblox. He's 777 Soloface. That's SOLOFACE. 777 Soloface. All right, or look up hashtag Find Solomon. If you're looking for my wife as well, you can look up hashtag Find Bloom. And those on as many platforms as you can. So if you want to Google any of those, hopefully we'll be the first thing that pops up. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. Once again, our prayer is that you receive what the Most High says, that you not just be a hearer, though, that you study it, meditate on it, so that you can be a doer of it as well. We're thankful and grateful for each and every one of you. Thank you so much. As always, it's been Pastor Kofi, pastor, servant to Christ, where we're always changing lives one mind at a time, being a voice of the voiceless and speaking the unspoken, until I have the great privilege, opportunity, and responsibility of being in front of you all again. Please remember, as always, that you are loved, you are necessary, you are majestic, you are fearfully and wonderfully made in you, which is all of us working together will be the reason why people who are in the system no longer have to be of it. Shalom, family. Peace.